But we begin with our big story. Joe Manchin not seeking re-election next year, complicating Democrats' efforts to hold on to their razor-thin majority in the Senate. This coming just one day after that heated showdown in Miami. The RNC hosting its third debate, 5 presidential nominee hopefuls taking the stage, though notably missing the overwhelming frontrunner from the race for former President Donald Trump. A new poll from our partners at 538, along with Ipsos and the Washington Post, shows that the biggest share of respondents, 35%, believe that Nikki Haley performed the best last night. But does that even matter with Trump 40 points ahead of his closest rival? Let's bring in ABC News chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl. John, first, I want to talk about this debate, but let's get on the record about Joe Manchin not seeking re-election. You just had a talk with him, yes?
Yeah, I've known Joe Manchin for quite some time. I remember sitting down with him right after he came to the Senate, coming in as a former governor. And governors often have a hard transition to Congress, because when you're governor, you've got a police force that answers for you. You've got a helicopter that takes you where you need to go. You're the person in charge. You're an executive. In the Senate, especially a freshman senator, there's not a lot you can do. But I spoke to him, not much in terms of on-the-record comments. I'll just say that my sense in talking to Manchin as he has made this announcement that he's not running for re-election, that he is not done yet. I don't know what he's going to do. I've talked to people close to him in recent weeks who have said it's certainly possible that he would decide to run for president, either as a third-party candidate under the no labels brand or party, if you will, or even running as a Democratic candidate in the Democratic primary. He would have a massive long shot against Joe Biden, but he may just do something, this at least his friends have told me, to try to shake things up a bit. He's worried about the direction of the country, but feels that his future is outside of the U.S. Senate.
Well, and then on the GOP side last night, we saw those 5 Republican candidates take aim at each other over Israel's war with Hamas, Social Security, even TikTok. Nikki Haley, a big target. Yet, aside from Chris Christie, we didn't hear those same attacks lobbed at the frontrunner, former President Donald Trump. Is there a sense that from the GOP that Trump is even beatable at this point?
I mean, it's almost as though those on the stage, with the exception of Ramaswamy, I don't know why exactly he's on the stage, but the others, they want to be there in case Trump implodes, in case he disappears, either he gets convicted or he just becomes too volatile and suddenly becomes unacceptable to a Republican base that has fallen in love with him. They want to be there to take up the mantle, and I think that's one reason why you see even Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis have started to criticize Trump, but it's not really that direct. Nikki Haley said that he was the right man for the time when he got elected in 2016. That's what she said about the guy that she's trying to defeat now. Now he says he's not the right man for this time, but he was the right man for that time. But look, this is not over. We're still early in this process. Iowa has had a history of surprising winners and surprising losers, and Donald Trump faces 4 criminal cases. I mean, he could be convicted in any one of them before the Republican convention next summer. You don't know the effect of that on this race. This race is more volatile than it appears in the polls.
Well, and also this debate coming just one day after Republicans suffered a series of big losses in nationwide elections, failing to stop the passage of ballot measures securing abortion rights, and in states like Ohio, failing to stop the re-election of Kentucky's Democratic governor. Democrats also winning both state legislative chambers in Virginia. Did Ramaswamy have a point whenever he said the GOP has become a party of losers?
Yeah, he said we've become a party of losers. He absolutely has a point. Just look at what's happened in virtually every election, midterm election, off-year election, special election. Virtually every election since Donald Trump got elected president in 2016, Republicans have either faced unexpected losses or disappointing results. This is the Trump era. This has been really a theme of Chris Christie's campaign, that Trump is a loser, loser, loser. He lost in 2018. He lost in 2020. He lost special election in 2020 in Georgia in the Senate races, and he lost. Republicans lost again with Trump as the dominant figure just this past Tuesday. Now, what was interesting is Ramaswamy didn't place a bit of that blame on Donald Trump. He said that it was the Republican chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, who faced blame and called on her to resign.
Yeah, that was very interesting, especially an interesting way to start the debate. But meanwhile,
with her
John,
sitting in the front row, by the way, Alex. I mean, the chairwoman was sitting in the front row. They were sponsoring the debate. And there you have him saying, do you want to come up on the stage and resign? Very unusual way. But I mean, obviously, this is not Ronna McDaniel's fault.
Yeah, well, but also I was going to bring up the fact that Donald Trump, he elected not to deliver, not to go to this debate. He hasn't gone to any of them. Instead, he delivered a speech in the Miami suburbs. He's got a 40-point lead. I'm curious, is there any incentive for him to participate in any of these debates going forward?
I mean, right now, it seems like it's been brilliant to skip the debates. He gets to, portray them all as infighting Republicans. He stays above the fray. Trump has been very candid about why he's not going. He's saying, why should I go? I've got a huge lead in the polls. I think that there is a possibility that he may, as you get into Iowa and New Hampshire, that he does participate in one debate. Because while he doesn't need it, at least not now, if polls do tighten, he may decide he needs to go. He also hates to cede the spotlight. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised to see one more dramatic gesture by Trump of him jumping in one of the debates right around Iowa or New Hampshire. But, it's not going to happen in this next debate in December. I certainly don't think that's going to happen.
Well, if there's one thing predictable about politics, it's just how unpredictable things can be. John, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Also, John's latest book, Tired of Winning, Donald Trump and the End of the Grand Old Party, is out November 14th. Wherever books are sold. But now I want to bring in our big story panel here. Joining us today, ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host Mike Muse, also ABC News political contributor and former Democratic Senator from North Dakota Heidi Heitkamp, ABC News contributor and former Virginia Congresswoman Barbara Comstock, and ABC News contributor and op-ed columnist for the Los Angeles Times, LZ Granderson. Thank you all for joining us. But Barbara, I got to start with you here on this. You've campaigned before, you've also had a debate before. What do you make about the GOP field going at almost everyone except for the frontrunner last night?
Well, it's certainly a bizarre strategy, and it's also a repeat of the 2016 strategy. So we know it's a losing strategy. If you don't go at the front runner, Trump, who has 91 felony and fraud indictments, has been found liable for rape, and is hiding and won't come and debate and answer questions about all of these things, then of course you're just fighting for second place. But I will point out that Nikki Haley did speak for everyone when she said Vivek Ramaswamy is scum, and his misogyny last night, blame the women, attack Nikki, attack her daughter, and then blame Ronna McDaniel for Trump's failures. Now, just like Vivek is a tool of Trump, who's just trying to show that he's an attack dog, Ronna McDaniel is a tool of Trump too. So the losing is all because of the Trump candidates, and Ronna's gone along with it. So you got to blame Trump for that.
Well, and Heidi, I'd like for you to hop in here. You heard Barbara talk about the attacks against Nikki Haley. Last night we saw Vivek, his target attacks on Nikki Haley. She had a lot of momentum coming into this debate, so knew that she was going to be a little bit of a lightning rod. But specifically, that TikTok jab at her daughter, the room booed, and we know, at least according to 538's numbers, 29% of respondents thought that his performance was the worst. Is this unhinged strategy that he had for last night, is this backfiring?
Well, I liken it to a 2-year-old who wants attention and doesn't deserve attention. It was really a horrible performance. If there had been a meaningful debate where you could have actually responded to some of the crazy things he said about his ideas on how to lead the country, he's not a serious candidate. I think he's trying to, build his reputation for the future. He's young, but he's really failing because he's creating a horrible first impression. I think what I take away from the debate is that two things. Number one, if you don't want to run against Donald Trump, why run? He is the front runner. You cannot win a nomination without comparing yourself and contrasting yourself to Donald Trump. So it's all kind of phonies except for Chris Christie. But also the confusion that stage had over abortion rights. I don't think the Republicans have quite figured it out. They thought they had the magic bullet with 15 weeks. That didn't work in Virginia. I think they're going to have to go back and really try and figure it out.
Well, and LZ, the question that I have for you, is there ground to be gained in these debates for candidates that aren't named Trump?
Well, I guess there is. It's the sense that you're trying to get their attention in terms of looking like the adult in the room, right? So say, for instance, for whatever reasons, the former president is not able to actually be in the White House and voters are looking for someone else to come in, they're going to want an adult. And that's the reason why Nikki Haley has been rising in the polls, is because for, the third consecutive debate, she has been the adult in the room. And she has been willing at times to go after Trump's policies and his results, not him personally, but his policies and his results. She's being very crafty in this. And so I would not be surprised if she continues to go up in the polls, particularly when you compare her behavior to her male counterparts.
Well, and Mike, final word here. I mean, this debate took place after a big election day. We saw issues like abortion and legalizing marijuana preserved in states like Ohio. How did those progressive wins affect some of the discussion on policy last night?
The biggest way it affected on policy when it came down to the abortion issue, which is why Nikki Haley stood out the way that she did, because she recognized the sentiment of she has to be strategically to get out of the GOP primary, which is very MAGA heavy and based when it comes to ideology, while signaling a pivot to the general election when it comes to where the general public is against a national abortion ban. And so I thought that she did a great job with the nuance when it comes to that. What it's really going to come down to is her strategy of not attacking former President Trump directly and so head on in order to keep the MAGA wing somewhat not attacking her, as she's able to appeal to more the moderate wing base of the Republican Party and the independents. My thought process is once these candidates start to fall out of the race, will they coalesce around her, throw her support around her, build a momentum as her being the alternative to former President Trump, and then we see a head-to-head matchup. And I think that's when it starts to get interesting. But egos will have to be removed in order for them to do that.
Okay.
I also want to add, this is going to have a lot to do with Senator Manchin and what he decides to do ultimately as well. He can impact this entire conversation.
Yeah, I don't think that was on anybody's bingo card today, right? Well, Mike, LZ, Heidi, and Barbara, thank you all very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.